Welcome to the Maine Outdoor Enthusiast podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Mark.
So what do we got going on today?
I'm not sure. What is the podcast today?
Oh, we get all kinds of good stuff.
Okay.
Maybe we'll get into a little politics.
Oh, that's right.
Well, not politics stuff, but news-like stuff that's going on. So our last podcast was fun.
Yes, it was. Joe was
a good time.
Joe's an excellent guy, and he's a very interesting guy.
Yeah. I like his, he's technically not down east. But he kind of has that down east humor.
Pretty close.
Yeah. I like his humor.
Yeah. You know, and I've envisioned those down easters as pretty tough guys that can deal a lot with discomfort and hard workers, and that's kind of how I look at Joe. He's probably a pretty hard worker that doesn't mind pain.
No, so he'd be a good person to deer track.
Yep. Yeah.
Someone asked me about prepping for deer season, like how I do it, exercise wise and stuff like that. And he just made a comment saying he kind of feels like everything he sees is like, you got to be some sort of elite athlete doing all kinds of extreme workouts. And I know a lot of that gets posted on social media. And I was telling him, I'm like, it makes nice reels on social media and stuff, but you don't have to be.
You mean to tell me I've been wasting my time working out?
Yeah, you've been posting reels and stuff on Instagram of your crazy workouts?
I put a 50-pound rock in my knapsack. I've been running up and down hills and stuff. And
I'm surprised your knees are still together.
Well, they're coming apart, so
yeah.
I wish I had that memo before.
Yeah. Put the discomfort out of sight, out of mind.
Yep.
And we were talking about that when we were up checking trail cameras the other day, just on how people are less prone to being uncomfortable nowadays.
Right.
And how if you focus on, if not your discomfort, but how you'll appreciate being comfortable after being uncomfortable.
Right.
Like anytime I do anything around the house, I really look forward to, I like to do things hard because I know if I come in like wintertime, sit by the fire or something and have a coffee, it's that much better. You savor those good times.
Yeah.
So much more.
I can't imagine a life where we didn't do that stuff, where we were always looking for a comfort zone or whatever. I can't imagine.
No. And it feels so much better when you shoot a deer doing something like that. When you've worked really hard. Yeah. And you're exhausted.
Well, anything in life, whether it's your day-to-day job or anything that,
As opposed, because I've done it both ways. I've sat on stand and nothing against shooting a deer from a stand. But I've shot a deer from a stand, and I remember the last one I shot while sitting on stand. It just didn't do it.
Yeah.
Just didn't do it for me. Something's missing. And those days that it's really cold and windy and you go a lot of miles and you feel like your day's fruitless, and you get back at camp, nice dinner. Yeah. Nice warm fire.
Yeah. And then
sleep finds you so well.
Yeah. And then you do that 4 or 5 days in a row without getting a deer. And then when you get one, you've earned it, and you appreciate it more for sure.
There was a deer a few years back that I'd shot. Remember, that was about 4 miles in on a road that you couldn't drive. And I drug it the entire way.
Oh yeah.
Out the road myself.
Yeah, back in the early 2000s, is that? Yeah, that was.
Yeah, and that was, coming out in the dark. It was Thanksgiving Day.
Yes, it was.
And I remember coming out in the dark, and the guy I was hunting with, I didn't want to mess up his hunt. So I was like, I shot the deer in the morning. I was like, well, I can drag on this all day long, and I'm sure I can get it out to.
And you did.
Pick up and I was just about there by 4:30.
Yeah, you did.
And it started to snow like a son of a gun.
And the problem is, too, the last half mile or so is all uphill.
All uphill. Luckily, he had met me just as I get to the bottom of that hill.
Yeah.
And we finished it up to the truck.
Yeah.
Bringing it up there. And it was snowing like crazy.
Yeah.
And it was probably, 5:30 at night at that point.
I've actually brought a few deer out of that same road.
Yeah.
Some by myself, but I did have a deer carrier.
Yeah.
And I wasn't I was 2 miles, about half the way in from where you were.
Yeah.
I was about 2 miles in. So
yeah, so that was so you feel good. And the next day I was a little bit sore, but not bad. Felt good. Went bird hunting that day.
You're building muscle.
Because you'd shot a deer already. So we were tagged out, did some bird hunting that day and kind of savored the rest of the week.
Yep.
Had a few days to enjoy it. So yeah, it feels really good when you work hard. But yeah, you don't have to be in some extreme shape. You just got to have what's going
determination.
What's going on between your ears in line.
Determination for sure.
So yeah. So back to Joe, he would be he seems like he's got the mindset.
Yeah. He's a tough guy. Joe, you can tell Joe's a tough guy that he wants to do it. And that's 90% of it. Yeah. Determination. So
and thinking you can do it.
Yeah. He believes he can do it. So
yeah, don't let that crop up in your head that you can't do it. People less capable do it every day.
They do.
Or every day during hunting season.
I didn't realize we were talking about the Benoits there, and Lanny has since, in some of the he's done quite a few podcasts within the last few years, and he talks about what kind of shape he was in after he had nothing left. Yeah. After he shot his deer.
Oh, in his younger years?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He talked about that, how going back to camp or whatever after a day's hunting, he said, I had nothing left. Yeah. I was done.
The one story I always liked, and it was in one of the books. So if you read the books, you would have known the story. But the buck that he had tracked and was shooting at over and over and over throughout the day. And as I recall the story in the book, there was crusty snow, quite a bit of it.
Yep.
Which makes it really hard, especially if there's enough of a crust where you just start to get your body weight up off the ground and you break through. And he did that all day long. And he finally shot the deer. And he just fell back in the snow.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, just laid there. Yeah, he had nothing left.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, that's hard work doing that.
Yeah,
and especially when there's a cross, that makes it 10 times harder. Just very awkward walking. But so actually hunting season started for some people. Goose season's open, isn't it?
Moose?
Goose.
Oh, goose. Yeah, probably resident goose.
I was sitting here actually preparing for this podcast yesterday morning. And it was just starting to get light. I don't know if it was like 6 o'clock or whatever. And I could hear all kinds of gunshots.
Yeah, they used to hunt the field right below you here. I think they probably not this year.
No, it's potatoes this year.
Potatoes this year.
And the tops are still green. They've killed them.
They've planted grain there before and had goose hunters in there.
So it was nice. You start hearing that, and it automatically just brings you into you start thinking fall.
Things are changing, the leaves are changing, and
days are shorter.
Yeah, way shorter.
Goose hunting would be fun. I watched those guys one year. The first time I ever saw it, we had just moved in the house, and down below our house, there's a big field that they plant potatoes in one year, and then rotational crops other years. And I watched guys all one fall haul decoys and stuff out there early in the morning. And then I can see completely down over the town.
Right.
And basically the hilltops going into another town. And you could watch geese coming in.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you'd see a few of the geese from the V veer off and come into the field.
Right.
And then pretty soon you'd hear boom, 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 boom. And they'd go collect all the geese. And then they'd do it again. And it looked like a lot of fun. They did a lot of shooting.
Yeah, it's actually become quite popular up here, the goose hunting and stuff. And they've expanded the season. Like I say, now they have an early season, which is what they consider a resident goose hunt. Okay. The geese are not migratory. They're geese and we got a pile of them right at the lake, right in front of the camp.
So one thing I want to discuss is I grew up, at least in this area, I had to take hunter safety course to get a license after the age of 16,
right?
To get an adult license. You didn't have to. They started that in the 80s at some point?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I was grandfathered in because if you had a license before a certain time, you were not required to take the hunter safety course. So,
but regardless, it was something that was done at the school.
Yeah.
And I think my sister did it there.
Yeah.
My wife did it there. So we all got our hunter safety certification through the school.
Right.
Super convenient. It was really easy. I don't believe it cost anything.
Probably not.
I think it may have been sponsored like by maybe the Fish and Game Club in town here or something like that. Maybe the VFW. I know one of the guys that was running it was a member of the VFW. But that was really important for me to get that hunter safety course. Made it easy. And so the feds are kind of pulling this deal where they want to withhold funding from schools that provide any sort of hunter education,
right,
or archery education.
Yeah.
So what they're doing, so to withhold funding from these schools, is they're using a provision in the BSCA. It's the Bipartisan Safety Community Act.
Yeah.
And they're interpreting a section of it that says federally funded programs can't provide training in the use of a dangerous weapon. So they're trying to say, like hunter ed courses and stuff like that kind of falls under that clause. And the problem I have with that, well, I have a lot of problems with it, but one is none of these courses actually had a weapon or even really referred to.
Right.
Like they actually avoided calling a lot like guns.
Right.
And they would refer to them as firearms.
Right.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there were no guns or anything in the course. A lot of it was survival stuff.
Right.
Safe hunting practices, being proficient in the woods, knowing how to use a map, knowing how to use a compass.
Yeah.
All that stuff. And then the archery side of things, any classes that teach archery, they use blunt tips.
Right.
They're not using broadheads and stuff like that. So yeah, have you read much about?
I have not. You've heard me say before, I do not, I don't watch the news or follow. I know just enough, and I know these people that are running the country right now, and they're set against anything that a conservative person would, anything that a normal right-thinking conservative person would believe in, they're going to do the opposite. It's just the way it is. So anything I would like or do, or
they want to get rid of.
They want to,
And anything that I think is wrong or don't like,
they're all for it.
They want to promote it in schools.
Yep. Yeah.
For me, anything, so knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And the more informed someone can be about anything, and it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
If I'm buying something, or it's easy to be taken advantage of if you don't know about something.
Right.
It's easy to be deceived and to be led down a bad road if you're ill-informed, if you're ignorant of a subject. So anytime you can be not ignorant on a subject, know about it, you can make informed decisions about that subject on your own. And that's what we should be able to do, is make decisions for ourselves.
Right.
With our own minds, think for ourselves, not have someone tell us what we're going to learn, when we're going to learn it, and withhold that information.
So basically, don't send your kids to the school system.
Well,
homeschool, is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
So it hits home with me for two big reasons. One was that's where I got my hunter ed, was through the school.
Yeah. And
I can remember doing those nights there, and the guys that took their time to teach the course. It was a good time.
Right.
Learned a lot of things. Even though I'd grown up doing this stuff, you still learn a lot of stuff, whether it's map and compass stuff or, survival stuff, or just different gear to have, a different perspective on hunting. Two, I had a class in high school, outdoors in Maine.
Yeah.
And to this day, I use a lot of the stuff that I learned in that class.
Right.
Almost daily. And it was an outdoors in Maine class that we did things like we built snowshoes. That's how I get into rod building.
Build fly rods. Yeah.
We were going to build a canoe. We didn't get around to it. We did fly tying.
Yeah.
What else? We did an allagash trip. Did a canoe trip.
2 of them.
With the class. Yeah.
Yeah. I was a chaperone on those.
What else? We did some Appalachian Trail stuff. Like they expanded the Appalachian Trail up through here, actually just down beyond my property. Right. We built a lean-to, an outhouse and stuff like that for people hiking the Appalachian Trail. Hunter's breakfast we put on. All kinds of things that I still use to this day. And if something like this went through, I would have never get that exposure.
Right.
we had a lot of interesting people. Like there was a guy that came in that taught rod building.
Yeah.
Over the course of, I don't know if it was a month or so.
Right.
And yeah, and we ended up getting like Sage blanks cheap because it was an educational program.
Right.
The teacher called up Sage and Sage was like, yeah, we'll give you all of our blend blanks, whatever you want. It's like $30 a rod or whatever.
Right.
$40 a rod, $40 a blank. Yeah. And so we had access to good blanks for next to nothing. So that was a really good experience, and it teaches you life skills.
Yeah.
That I carried on with me and passed on to others that I wouldn't have otherwise. So yeah, I look at nowadays, if something like that were not present,
yeah,
I would never have had that course.
Yeah.
You know, and for a lot of kids, these courses provide a good sense of self-worth too.
Right. Yeah.
There were kids in the class, in that Outdoors in Maine class, that would never have been exposed to hunting or fishing otherwise.
The outdoors, yeah.
They didn't have parents that did it. Some of them didn't have two parents at home.
Yeah.
One in particular I can think of, his mother worked and it was just him and his mom. You know, he got to do the Allagash.
You know, and I would bet, Paul, that out of all those kids, not one of them had ever done it before. And I bet that if they hadn't done it with your course, they'd have never done it at all.
Never done it at all.
To this day.
No.
They would have never have done it at all. They would have never been exposed to it at all.
You know, we did nothing focused. We didn't do any shooting. I think we had talked about doing some archery stuff, but never really did. But it was a good, wholesome course.
Right.
And taught you a lot of skills that.
Well, and the thing, a lot of skills you could use. I mean, Northern Maine, there's not a lot of recreation available to people up here, and to open up the outdoors, like you say, the ice fishing and snowshoeing and fly fishing and all those things, camping, to open that up.
People will say there's like, what do you do up there? There's nothing to do. There's a lot to do.
If you like to do those things. So
it's just kind of.
There is a lot to do.
What do you want to do?
Right.
Like if you consider going out and fine dining and
or going to a Red Sox or a Bruins game. No, you can't do that here, but there's a lot of other things to do.
If you want to hunt, hike, fish, basically wherever you want.
Canoe, camp.
Because we're not limited in access to land up here.
Oh no, we're fortunate
at all.
We're fortunate. There was another podcast, they talked about that how fortunate we are and we've talked about it here on this podcast before, to have the amount of privately held land available to us.
Yeah, I've said that repeatedly. Yeah. I talk about the North Maine woods a lot.
Yeah, to have it. I mean, we just at the camp, Paul, we get in the pickup and we go anywhere we want.
Yeah,
we go anywhere we want.
Yeah,
no problems. We've always taken that for granted because it's been there. That access to that land has been there ever since I've been alive. So, and same with you. And we take that for granted. And, but sometimes you stop and think that could change in a heartbeat.
It could.
That could be all gone next year.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and that would throw a big wrench into, or at least make it.
Yep. It would change our world completely.
Especially fishing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And bird hunting and stuff like that. So.
And deer hunting. It would change our world 100%.
Yeah, so I've always been very appreciative of that.
Yeah.
And more so now.
Yeah.
One of the other things I wanted to talk about was Sunday hunting, but you'd informed me there was another podcast that had just talked about some Sunday hunting stuff.
Yeah, they just touched on that. That's Sunday hunting. And
was it the Big Woods Bucks podcast?
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet.
Yeah.
And
it
was something I was thinking about the other morning.
The pushback, I guess, on that is the landowners. They mostly the small landowners, but
they probably want Sunday open to do whatever they want on their land.
Well, that's what and then they've kind of said that they want to stay united. So even the big landowners are gonna side with the small landowners on that Sunday hunting issue.
I see both sides of it because if you don't have tunnel vision, because I can definitely see where I could even do it. where I'm like, yeah, I absolutely want Sunday hunting.
Right.
Because I have vacation time, but if I didn't,
Right.
I'm going to be very limited without Sunday, just hunting Saturday.
Right.
That ends up being in November, like 5 Saturdays.
Yeah.
If you count resident only
Yeah.
Saturday. So I would get 5 Saturdays to hunt.
Yeah.
And then 1 Saturday in muzzleloader week. So potentially 6 Saturdays, 6 days I could hunt. And, you know, I'm like, well, boys, if I'm working full time, no vacation, that's not much.
Right.
But on the flip side, you know, I understand landowners wanting a day to go out and do whatever and not have to worry about hunters and whatnot on their property. The other thing that I'd never thought about, but I think it was mentioned actually probably on the Big Woods Bucks podcast is, and I get this feeling sometimes just with, if I have a week off hunting, it's nice to have Sunday. And you hear guides, they were talking about guides. Sunday, not, you know, it being closed to hunting on Sunday,
right?
It kind of gives them a day to reset.
And we always did that, Paul.
Yeah.
When we went on our deer week, both Sundays, beginning and ending, were our travel days.
Yeah.
We were under no pressure to go hunting.
No.
So we could actually enjoy the camaraderie of camp, have a big supper, get to camp, and, you know, in the afternoon and set everything up and then same way coming out, you know, the following Sunday there was, you know, we weren't on any being pushed to hunt.
No. And you can say that, you know, right now you could say, well, I could take that day and just relax going in. I don't know if I could. Knowing in the back of my head I could be out deer hunting.
That's what I'm saying.
Especially if it's a good day. I would be rushing.
We would put pressure on ourselves to be out there hunting.
To get there.
And so you're forced to accept that you're not going to go. And like you would say, it adds other things to the vacation, to the trip.
And it kind of clicked when they said, you know, for guides, because gosh, if you think of a guide who's hunting like bear season.
Yeah.
My gosh, you would start, September. Right. And go all the way through until
without a day
December. Without a day off. Because if you have paying clients.
Right. They want to hunt.
They're not going to want to sit at camp.
No.
On a Sunday. And
no.
So it's like a forced day off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a good.
And there again, in Maine, Paul, it's something we've never had. We've never had Sunday hunting. So you kind of, you know, it's not like it was taken away from us or anything, you know. So it's what we've always known. So it's fairly easy to live with.
Yeah.
For us, because that's all we've ever known. We've never been able to hunt on Sunday. So.
And I've thought, you know, maybe there's some ways they could go around it, like maybe public land, have that open.
Right.
Like publicly owned land, I should say.
Right.
But I don't know what kind of problems that, when you start doing stuff like that, there's problems that you can't even think of that could crop up.
Yeah.
You know, regulating that stuff, and I just see all kinds of potential.
Yeah. So the way it stands now is, it doesn't look like that's ever going to be. No.
And like I said, I'm probably now. When I was younger, I probably was like, not being able to hunt on Sundays is ridiculous.
Right.
But I'm kind of like, well, 6 to 1, half dozen to another.
Yeah.
I'm like 50-50. I could go either. I wouldn't have a problem if it was open.
Right.
And I guess I don't have a problem with the status quo right now.
I can't complain about it. It's not that big of a deal for me. I can go whenever I want. So, you know.
You probably go less now than you did when you were working.
Well, I don't know if less, but you don't go as much as you think you're going to when you have unlimited time.
You can pick the quality days now.
Yeah.
Like if it's a really good day, you can guarantee you're going to be out deer hunting.
Right.
Because there's days I'm sitting in work and it'd be a nice day to be out deer hunting. Perfect.
Yeah.
And especially when it's one of those days when people are shooting deer.
Yeah.
There was a Veterans Day a few years back that you shot a deer that morning, and we'd gotten a snow that night. It's kind of that sticky snow, like 32 degrees, 33 degrees that next day. And it was like November 11th or something like that. A lot of people shot deer that day.
Yeah, definitely. That is Veterans Day, the 11th. So, yeah.
And I remember thinking it was just a perfect day to be out deer hunting. The phone was ringing like crazy.
Yeah.
I think Scott had shot one that year. It was like 250 something pounds.
Yeah.
That was,
yeah.
He was tracking, I believe.
Yeah.
And you shot one that morning. Yeah, I think it was you'd text or called or something, said you shot one.
Yeah.
Shortly thereafter, Scott called and you'd shot one. It's like, oh my God, what am I doing here?
I was working at that time though. And
oh yeah, you would have been.
I was, and I remember we do work Veterans Day too. That's not but they asked if anybody wanted it off, and I saw the weather forecast, and I said, you know what?
Sign me up.
I'll take it off.
Yeah.
So
I guess the next month we'll probably do a little more fishing, or at least you will.
Yeah,
you like to try to catch some salmon spawning.
Yeah, the fall fishing looks like it may be fairly good with the water levels and stuff, and
you got plenty of water.
Yeah, yeah.
Which that can be a hindrance when they're spawning.
Yeah.
How do you usually fish for them?
Fly fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fly fish.
Something big and colorful?
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot like, of course, they're landlocked salmon. It's a lot like fishing for Atlantic salmon at that time of year, you know.
They're not really feeding.
No, they're more protective and aggressive. And it's just a patience game, a lot of casting, keeping your fly in the water. So
you caught a nice one a few years back.
Yeah.
It was 7.5 pound.
Well, salmon? I got one 27 inches there that,
What was the story behind you actually, he hit or came at your fly the day before, you think?
I was fishing a pool up on the Fish River chain of lakes, and there wasn't many fish in the pool, and I believe this fish that, a big male with a big kipe on it, I believe that he hit like 3 days. I had, and one day I hooked up, and I had him hooked, and he jumped and everything and came off, and I ended up catching him the last day. And I'm pretty sure it was the same fish. There wasn't a lot of fish in that pool, and a fish that size, there's, it's probably just him in that pool.
Yeah,
so
that was a big
fish. It was a nice male salmon.
And you've got some others not as big as that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually catch a few fish there. And there again, it all depends on the water conditions.
We had 2 years in a row, wasn't it, that you really couldn't fish because there was no water?
You're right. Some years the water's low and warm, and there are no fish in the pool. And if the water's high and cool, there's more apt to be fish in the pool and stuff.
So we usually and Maine did a great thing with this is that end of September they bumped bird season.
Right,
into September, so you can go do some fishing. And I got some bad news about that.
What's that?
I got to work that Saturday.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. When the guys at work wanted to swap.
Bad news for you. You got to work. I don't have to. Yeah.
The good news is that freed up opening day of deer season.
Okay. Well, there's always a trade-off.
Yeah, I can. The bird hunting is probably not going to be that great.
No.
Even opening day, I tend to like to go. Saturdays can be busy.
Yeah.
Especially the first Saturday.
Yeah.
I kind of like to go. I get a day or two off during the week usually. And I like to go during the week. There's less pressure.
Yeah. I actually don't like that bird season opening up on the last Saturday in September. I liked it the way it was. 1st of October.
Yeah.
That's when it started.
It's probably too early.
It is a little early.
There's a lot of foliage on the trees that time of year.
Yeah.
I like to go fishing.
Plus being on a Saturday, it opens it up to more people, you know. Before if October 1st was on a Tuesday or Wednesday, might be a little less crowded in the woods and stuff. And I'm not a big fan of that, but
teach their own.
I'm not all broken up about it either, so whatever.
No, so I can't go opening day, but I'll be out that Wednesday.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully can find some birds.
Yeah.
Might have to work a little bit.
And I don't think you're going to miss much. Like you say, I don't think there's going to be a lot going on, especially this year.
There's some years that early in the year, you just don't start, you're not seeing any birds.
No.
And then a week or so into it,
it's
just like someone flips the light switch.
Yeah.
Start seeing birds everywhere. So who knows how that's going to shake out. So one sad state with the world right now is finding ammo.
Yeah, we've been after, this is a long,
It's a crapshoot.
this is, what are we,
Maybe.
4 years into this ammo shortage deal or whatever?
I don't know. I remember when I was a kid, the first thing I did when I turned 18 was I went down and bought a box of bullets. I think it was Rite Aid or Brooks at the time in town. And I don't ever remember having a problem going into a store and finding whatever I needed for shotgun shells.
Anywhere.
Anywhere. Yep. And now, like, I hunt with 150 grain bullets for my 270. I've been years. I'd have to special order them, find stuff here and there from gun dealers. I could find me a box or two. Finally, a guy calls me up. He's like, I can get you a case. And so I ordered a fair number of boxes of bullets. Right. I go over to a local store. They got all kinds now. Yeah. I'm like, that's how it works for me. I went in. So I had gone in I'm looking for some 28 gauge for my wife, target load. Just in the gun shop. It was on a Saturday. They weren't open. Then I hate going to Walmart. Yeah. But I'm like, I need some more skeets, more clay pigeons. I'm going to buy another box of those and see if they have any 28 gauge. I go in there, and that's where I see they have all kinds of 150 grain for my 270. But they didn't have anything but 12 gauge shotgun shells. Right. There was nothing. There was no 20, no 28, no 410. Nope. Nothing. So I'm like, what the heck? Like, how the heck? Right. We like I say, we're 3 to 4 years into this. You're telling me people are still demanding that much of it, that there's a shortage, or are they just not producing any, or what's up with that? I'm sure there's people that obviously know way more than I do about that, but I just feel like every time I go, and it's been 5 years now or whatever, and I'm like, man, back in the day, it was never at the drop of a hat. I could go to basically any store around and pick up whatever I needed to go bird hunting or to go deer hunting or to go out back and shoot some ski. And I found, totally forgot about it. I'd bought 2 cases. I must have been 20, 21. We'd gone on a big skeet shooting rampage, me and a bunch of friends. We were shooting quite a bit. And I think it was Walmart or Kmart or something, had a deal. It was basically like a case of 4 boxes of target load. Winchester AA? These were federal. Okay. Yeah. But they're just a target load. Yeah. And I bought a full case of 20 gauge and a full case of 12 gauge. Yeah. They hadn't used them. Oh, you got them. And I was sitting here the other day going, I got to get some 20 gauge target load. And it clicked on. I was like, I think I have some up in the shelf. And my God, they're there. Oh, you found like a treasure trove. I probably could sell it for quite a profit. Yeah. Because I paid, I think, next to nothing for them. Yeah. But back in the day for the trap shells, Winchester AA, I think they were called. You buy them for nothing. Yeah. I bought a pile of them. And we'd shot a lot. And those were just leftover. I was like, thank God I found those so I can do some shooting. But for Lacey's 28 gauge, I don't want to shoot, heavy game load. No. I don't blame you. So I was like, get some target. I might let her shoot a shot or two or whatever, but I wouldn't let her blast through a box of shells with that stuff. They didn't even have it there. No. Anything else? This one was kind of all over the place a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of some, like I said, I don't want to come to find out that another podcast had just talked about Sunday hunting. I wasn't going to get too much into. Yeah. And this time of year, I listen to a lot of podcasts, but this time of year, I save a lot of the hunting and fishing outdoor podcasts I listen to for bird season. So I'll download them because when we're up in the woods, we're a little more seat time. Yeah. I like to listen to them. Yeah. I also listen to a lot of podcasts about like medical and health. And if I'm riding with someone, they don't want to listen to that. Lacey doesn't want to hear anything about some of that stuff. So I'll kind of get like a library of the good podcasts. Yeah. And save those for when I'm driving over to the camp. I'll listen to one. Gets you in the mood for hunting season. There's some good podcasts out there. There was one they're doing a series on the legendary whitetail hunters, and the guy went around to Lanny Benoit, Jim Massett, Joe Donito, and that was really good. That was he went right to their homes. Who was that one? I think that was Hunt Suburbia. Okay. It was Patrick Goyette there,
who puts on hunt stock.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, driving out here, I was listening to one with Jim Massett, and that was really super.
Jim Massett's an interesting guy.
Yeah, that was really super interesting. And just the whole Connecticut, I think they called him Connecticut Bob there. They had some really good whitetail hunters in there, the older guys that had been around the block a few times, and that's worth listening to.
Yeah.
And Northeast Whitetails does a lot of podcasts.
I've listened to a few of his, because he had Lanny on a few years ago.
Yeah.
Year or two ago. And that was the first time I'd come across that one.
Yeah.
The usual, Big Woods Box, they've got a good podcast.
They do.
Staggercast, I like listening to their.
Yeah.
But I try to, save a lot of those for when I'm traveling, when I'm going into camp. It kind of, I like listening to it then. It kind of gets you in the mood for what's to come, gets you fired up for hunting season.
Yeah, Northeast Whitetails does some good podcasts, and there's a lot of times as the younger guys, the up and comers, the guys that are, and they're good hunters too. They're really good hunters, and
there's a lot of good hunters.
Yeah,
around.
But they live a hunting lifestyle that I could never. I mean, these guys seem to have unlimited time and stuff, and they hunt numerous states. They chase snow from New York to Maine. You know, whether it be even Massachusetts. We never considered Massachusetts a place to go tracking whitetails, and they go there. New Hampshire, Vermont, the whole shebang.
There was a period in my life when I couldn't really hunt a whole lot because I was starting.
That period is right now.
Well, no, I can hunt more than I was.
But you can't hunt like these guys hunt.
No, God, no,
no.
But when I was in college, there was a lot going on.
Right.
And now
you had a hard time getting a day to go hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so there was a period of transition of starting a career and all that stuff. You kind of have your focus in other areas and don't get a lot of time. But now I'm, living in the area that I hunt, so I can pretty well.
I
can't be traveling. No, I can't be traveling all over the
Northeast,
Eastern Seaboard.
And it's a little different from us. We're 6 hours away from New Hampshire or whatever.
Yeah, if you live in Vermont or New Hampshire,
you're centrally located. We are not centrally located.
States are small. Those states are smaller than Aroostook County.
Yeah.
Those states are smaller than Aroostook County.
This is it. Traveling, they actually jump. They can go from, if there's, snow in the Adirondacks, they'll shoot down there. And if there's snow in Maine, they can shoot up here. And
look at a map. Look where Jackman is.
Yeah.
You basically cut over to New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Vermont.
Yep.
I mean, you're all right into Canada.
Yeah.
If you want to go into Canada.
Yep.
So, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You kind of forget about that way up here.
Yeah.
Geez, how do these guys, get to shoot 3 deer? Like I just would never, unless I owned a plane or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're right in the.
And you know what? And
the mix of it all.
And you probably feel the same way, Paul. I love deer hunting and stuff, but I'm not gonna. And these guys would probably, I don't know. I wouldn't sacrifice my family for.
No, you gotta kind of have balance in your life.
I figure when I worked and when I had a family, I figured if I had a week to go deer hunting,
you were fortunate.
I was fortunate, and yeah.
And back then up here, that's all you needed.
Yeah, you were going to get a chance.
There was enough deer.
You were going to get a chance in a week to shoot a deer if you worked hard and stuff, and so.
Because usually the first few days at camp, you would shoot a deer.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
any luck at all.
Even if I had that, if I lived down there and had that access and that ability to do what I wouldn't do it. I would feel like I was
selfish.
Yeah, that I was neglecting my family and the things I needed to do, and I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't do it.
No, and that kind of brings us back to appreciating the hunt.
Yeah, when you get a week. Yeah,
when you get a week off.
Yeah. Yeah.
You savor, you probably suck as much life out of that.
Yeah. Have you ever seen some of those podcast or the hunting shows where the guy hunts 30 days and by the end of the season, he's wore out? It's a job.
Probably hates hunting at that point.
He's just doing it now because he's got to fulfill and he's got to do it. And you're going, you're really are not looking forward to this.
You don't have to do this.
Yeah. But he feels like he's obligated to do it.
It's supposed to be a hobby.
Yeah. Then it becomes a job. And that's, like you say, when you have a week off, you appreciate it.
Yeah.
And you put all you got into it. And,
we were laughing about that at work there one time. Because I'm not a person that takes a lot of time off.
Yeah.
Someone has to take my responsibility.
Right.
When I'm not there.
Right.
And I don't like putting that on someone, but they were laughing. They're like, yeah, you don't feel bad in November. I'm like, I absolutely do not feel bad in November.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Like, sayonara.
Yeah. But like I say, even Paul, if you go hard for a week, sometimes you're glad to get home.
Well, that's another reason why having no Sunday hunting is good.
Yeah. You're glad to get home and you're glad to, you gave it a good shot and you worked hard and time to shift gears and get back into real life.
Yeah. I used to think about that too in the Benoits, because the first exposure that I had to, someone really extensively hunting was the Benoits.
Right.
I remember thinking back then, like, holy smokes, they go for a whole month.
Yeah.
And it's probably come up at deer camp in the past where it's like, geez, a month. Probably after about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, holy smokes. Like,
yeah.
Maybe getting a little tired. Granted, they're not hunting balls to the wall every day.
Well,
because the conditions aren't always conducive to that.
Right. And then you find out the truth too, that some of that came out later in the last few years in Lanny's podcast there, that he would go home.
Yeah.
And say, when conditions are good, call me. Yeah. He wasn't going to beat through the woods every day for 30 days and looking for a deer.
Yeah.
He would literally go home and say, when conditions are good, then I'll hunt.
And that's wise.
Yeah. Yeah. And Joe Donito does the same thing. He's got a big dairy farm in New York, and he doesn't hunt a lot of days, but when the good days come, he's out there. Yeah. He's going to hunt and he's going to push hard.
Dairy farm. That's
a
24/7.
Oh yeah. It's 24/7 for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Obviously he's got a lot of help.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think they said he had 1,500 cows or something like that. Okay. It's a huge dairy farm. Yeah. No, that's not something you do on your own.
No.
So.
I mean, he's not out there milking them by hand?
No, I don't think so.
In a bucket?
You'd have to ask him, but I don't think that's the case. So.
All right. Anything else?
No, that's...
I got to get the canoe done.
Yeah, you're working on that this afternoon? Or?
I don't know. I'd like to sand it, but I don't have anyone that can help me carry it out anymore. So
I was talking to somebody about that today.
What I'm going to do.
I can hold it up, but boy, I can't go down to the floor to get it. I'll tell you that. That's heavy, Paul.
Yes, everything's sanded on it.
You do realize I've had 2 hernia surgeries. So
what's one more?
Yeah, well, it's the third. That's what it is.
So we got everything sanded on it.
Yeah.
And then I mixed up some epoxy with some cedar flour and silica, and basically made a putty to fill any gaps, holes.
Yeah.
So that's all done. That epoxy actually is very nice. It cures. Yeah. I didn't have any issues using the batch that I made. It was basically like 4 ounces.
Yeah. I checked for my pump too, by the way.
Did you see it?
Could not find it, Paul. And I found my supplies. I found the glass, and I found the resin and hardener, and I could not find any. So I'm assuming I threw them.
Probably.
I'm assuming I threw them.
That was my bad. When I ordered the stuff, I had 2 pumps in the cart, and like I said, their website, it's a little bit dated, and the cart kept doing wonky stuff as I would add more stuff to it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the pumps got dropped.
Yeah.
So I ended up only getting 1 pump, and I need at least 2, because you don't want to be sticking a hardener pump in the resin.
No, you can't
and
do
vice
that.
versa, going back and forth. Yeah. So, I mean, and it's an easy ratio. It's a 2-to-1 ratio to mix that stuff up. So it's easy to measure in a cup or whatever it is that you're using for a vessel to hold it.
Yeah, I remember, like I say, I used the same product, and I don't remember having any problem with it at all. Yeah. I found it easy to work with. It's actually a lot easier, isn't it, Paul, than polyester resin and stuff?
Oh, way easier.
Yeah,
because the polyester resin, the old he doesn't even talk about it in the book anymore.
Yeah.
But that old school boat building resin, like one of the guys that we know that built one, he said, I think the biggest cost of building his canoe was all the orbital sander pads he went through.
Ooh,
he said you would literally, that stuff would gum up a pad.
Yeah.
And you would just do one spot, and then your pad would be completely gummed up.
Isn't it more toxic?
Probably is.
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar with it. So we'll see how it goes. That next will be once I sand down all those patches, which will just take, I don't know, half hour or so. I'll put on basically the base coat first, because that wood sucks up a lot of epoxy. So I'll do the whole canoe with no fiberglass. Just get a nice coat sucked into the wood, and then fiberglass.
And you say you don't have to sand that if you do it within 24 hours or something?
Yeah, when I called the company, he was like, yeah, if you do another coat within 24 to 48 hours, you don't have to sand it all.
Yeah.
You're good.
That'll be good. You want to make sure you do that. That sanding's a pain in the butt. So.
But the stuff sands easy. I grabbed just a piece of sandpaper by hand and just sanded a spot. And I was like, oh my God, an orbital sander. I go over this in 2 seconds and can move on. All right.
Yeah.
Hopefully, maybe the next one, probably have a guest. Maybe the next one or the one after. Waiting to hear from
RL
when he's coming up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Should be pretty soon.
He'd be an interesting guy.
Yeah. He's probably one of the best, most diverse hunters I know.
Yeah.
That's kind of good at a lot of different.
Right. Yeah. You don't have many guys from up here going out west or anything.
He does kind of does it all, expanded archery.
In the archery. And
he kind of just does it all.
Yeah.
And he's usually the first person I get a deer picture from.
Yeah.
If he's out deer hunting, he's probably going to shoot one.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah.
And he's not always holding out for the biggest. He shoots some nice deer, but he's not one to, especially if he's got, the ability to shoot 2 or 3 deer, depending on where he's hunting. He'll pull the trigger on a smaller one right away. But he does some stuff out west. He likes a challenge.
Yeah,
he likes like there's a story. I think it was a mule deer he shot, and I think he had to pack it out like 8 miles.
Yeah,
the buddy he was hunting with, wouldn't even let him carry his gun. He said, "No, I want to do it 100%. On my own."
Yeah, that would be.
So he's like, "I'll carry the gun. I'll carry everything."
Yeah, he's in good shape.
Yeah, and he just did a Ironman.
He did.
Yep.
Yeah.
He just completed one. Yeah. Kind of. He must have been a closet trainer or something. Wasn't telling anyone.
Yeah,
and then went and did it, and did really.
You do realize your aunt's stepson was a triathlete, and he is he was ranked #1 marathoner in the world in the Masters category. #1 in the world.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Very impressive. He ran a race. They called it out in the Gobi Desert. Can't remember, something challenge. People from all over the world. And he won it. And I mean, not just his age group, but he won the friggin' race out in Mongolia.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The Gobi Challenge or something like that. And he, it's I don't know how many 100 miles or something. It's a crazy race out in the desert. And he won it. Huh. Yeah, this guy is amazing.
Yeah, he goes all around the world doing it now.
Yeah.
He did some in Hawaii. I remember there.
I believe he won the Boston Marathon in his age group, and he was running. Oh, I shouldn't say what I was thinking it was 2:30.
I can look it up. It's Kenny Rideout.
Yeah, Kenny Rideout, and he's in his 50s.
Yeah.
So
I did it later in life.
Yeah, it's my
kind of like Aunt Leslie.
Yeah, well, that's
she did
like
the same thing.
Yeah,
she picked it up later in life.
That's Leslie's stepson. So
she did it later in life, and she was good at it.
His father Kenny had told me about it, and I looked it up online, Paul, and you can look it up there. And I found some rating, and his name was #1 in the world for ranking for marathon for the Masters cat. Anybody over 50, #1 in the world.
Dang. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he did his he was going to do his first triathlon, and ended up being an Ironman was his first triathlon.
Yeah.
And that's something he would do.
Yeah.
It would be this go from not ever doing a triathlon, let's just go do an Ironman.
To the most challenging. Yeah.
I guess he did quite well. So we'll ask him about it when he comes.
Yeah.
But the kind of joke, people were joking with him, like, what are you, closet training? No one had any idea of that.
Right. Because to do that stuff,
you're not just
pretty hard to hide it, because you got to do a lot of training.
You're not just going to walk on.
Right.
And start swimming.
It requires
and biking
many hours of road work and training to do that.
So, all right.
Yep.
Well, I guess that sums it up for
today.
So until next time, get outside.
It's good for the soul.
See ya.